Hello there, this is BK on the air, here to tell you that if you hear the telephone number, please don't call, because this is a rebroadcast.
Any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. Does Barry Manilow know that you raid his wardrobe?
I'll give you the answer to that question, Mr. Bender, next Saturday. Don't mess with the bull, young man. You'll get the horns.
Oh, a microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Get over there. Use Gritto, radio friends. The soap that gives your hands that dishpan look. How will the old man know you've been working if your hands don't have that dishpan look? Put a box of Gritto in a glass of water, then listen to it fizz. Remember, Gritto spelled sideways is atragr.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Oh boy, do I feel better than I did last week. I was battling like this. I don't know if it was you ever feel bad and you don't know whether it's either because I'm never right. I've gone to the doctor before feeling bad, and I'm like, man, I must have the flu because I feel horrible, doc. Check me out. He's like, nothing wrong with you. All we can tell is wrong, maybe allergy or something. I'm like, great, I feel horrible. Okay, well, here's some allergy things. Take care of yourself. All right. Went to him once, felt kind of bad. I'm like, this pollen's really big in the air, and I see it all over cars, and I have asthma. It must be an allergy problem I'm having. What's going on? Can you tell me? Can you give me something to make me feel better? He's like, well, you got the rhinovirus. It's terrible. Here's some antibiotics. I'm like, I don't even know what I've got. I can never tell what it is. Some symptoms cross over. You know what I mean? Uh-huh. And when I caught COVID once, a couple of years ago, I think, or a year and a half ago, during Christmas of, not this past Christmas, but the one before that. Had to cancel all our Christmas family stuff during the week of Christmas. Had it, so both the wife and I, because it's the gift that keeps on giving. If you live with someone, usually you get exposed to it. So we had it, and I had COVID, and I have had a common cold that felt 10 times worse than my COVID did when I had the COVID. So anyway, I don't know. Sometimes I have no idea why I feel the way I do. It could be the flu, it could be the cold, it could be a COVID, it could be something else. I mean, I don't know what it is. So I just kind of quit trying to diagnose myself because I'm always wrong. Does that happen to you?
Aren't you a husband?
Yes.
So then, yes, you are always wrong.
Okay.
Good morning.
Thank you for reminding about that, because I'd sort of forgotten about that. I'm sorry.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
I didn't mean to forget about that, but you're right. So
you grow up as a young male.
Not as much now. I'm pretty good with it now.
I've got a good head on my shoulders. I've been able to dress myself, pick up my own food. Yeah. I've been able to function in society. I go to a job.
I still get to do that. I do that. I'm not quite as bad off as some of my other married brethren are that I know they're out there in the world. I'm not anywhere near as bad off as they are.
But
thank goodness, because
we both have a filter at home.
Yes, and sometimes I actually welcome it because it kind of helps me out sometimes, because I'm not great. And we yin and yang, because I've actually mellowed her out a little after she met me. So she was kind of way up here, and I was way down here.
Did you just wear her down?
I don't know. Hey,
like, I'm just sick of trying.
Either one, I don't care. One way or the other, I'm fine with that. I actually got her to sit down and watch Flash Gordon when we started dating. I thought that was a major triumph at that time to do it, and it was a prerequisite before we got married.
Isn't it amazing what we do for love?
I said, I'm going to show you a movie, honey, and it's going to hinge on whether we continue our relationship or not. I want you to watch it, and you tell me what you think after you see it. Now, it's going to be a fun, goofy movie, so just know that up front. We watched Flash Gordon from 1980 with Sam Jones. And after it was over, I'm like, well, what'd you think? She's like, that was funny. That was over the top funny. Yeah. And to this day, I never actually cornered her, and I go, were you really lying about it, or did you really like it? I'm like, no. She's told me she liked it. And
knowing
we
Stacey,
got engaged,
knowing
and
you're
married.
beloved like I do, I could see the
fine.
perma smile on her face. That was great. No, thank you, honey. I appreciate it.
Now, thank goodness, because I did try to have her watch. We sat down to watch Kung Pao Enter the Fist once, and she got as far.
I'd go to
she got 6 minutes into the film and went, "I can't do this. Turn this off." And you know where she gave up, and we had to stop.
Was it with the baby rolling down the hill?
No, it was later.
Okay.
I don't know if the scene comes before or after that, when the baby starts fighting the guys in the room.
That's before, yeah.
Okay. when the baby starts fighting guys in the room and then
then
starts doing something
whizzes
else on
them?
them, that's when she goes, turn this off. I can't watch
So
it.
she didn't even make it to when the baby's rolling down the hill and comes to the flat road. And that poor that good Samaritan woman's like,
oh, pretty baby.
Oh, baby, let me take you to the other side of the road and then let you continue
keep
doing
rolling down the hill.
hill.
It was just the opposite with me, because when I was watching it and I saw that, I'm like, oh, I'm in this movie. I'm not turning this off. This is where we're going. Kung Pao into the fist. This is going to be funny. And it was. So that gives you a little idea of where we stand, her and I, movie-wise. Now, we see eye to eye on a lot of other stuff movie-wise, because she loves the Marvel Universe. She loves all the she loves Star Wars. She also is a big Disney fan, so she does like the escapism.
But you guys are also
Game
Game of Thrones fans, so
yes,
that shows that
Game
you
of
run
Thrones,
the
yes.
gamut. I mean,
We do.
I would argue that's more adult than Star Wars.
It's much more adult than Star Wars. I mean, they could make a Star Wars show like that one day. I doubt they ever will. Maybe they will. Disney wouldn't.
You know, I think
it's
the closest they're going to
Star
come to
Wars
that
show.
is the one that's been my favorite so far is Andor. I enjoyed a more dramatic, less action-oriented. There's tension and good acting and a good storyline. I understand a lot of people are like, but there's not enough action. We'll see what happens in Andor Season 2, because I feel like it's the build.
Oh, yeah, we heard that they actually renewed it at the Star Wars celebration that's going on.
For
They
me,
released
of
that
all
news.
the stuff on the small screen, Mandalorian Seasons 1 and 2 and
Yeah, I love
Andor
Mandalorian.
Season 1, those have been my favorites right now. I don't like Season 3 of Mandor yet. I did like Book of Boba Fett.
We'll
okay.
get into that. Yeah,
Book of Boba Fett
we'll get
wasn't
into
bad.
that. Because we got a lot to talk about.
But-
got a lot of news about that. But and we've talked about it and kind of debated it on the air a little bit too. Andor couldn't have been further from what I like from Star Wars. To me, there wasn't enough Star Wars in Andor. The stuff that I expect to be in Star Wars, because if you watch even Obi-Wan Kenobi, the show that we thought was a disappointment, it had Star Wars in it though. There was a lot of Star Wars stuff in it. Now I know they tried something different with Andor, and a lot of people loved Andor, but I stuck it out for 4 or 5 episodes of Andor, and I'm like, this is so. It's a slow, for me it was slow plotting and just a lot of talking and just a lot of intense political spy stuff and stuff like that. And it just wasn't my cup of tea. I just couldn't get into
So you didn't make it to the end?
No, I'm like, if I watched it this far, do I have to keep watching? Because if I don't like it now, I don't think they'll ever have me at this point.
So you didn't get to the big prison scene?
No.
Oh dear Lord! Now I know if it's not.
I don't want to watch the show, but watch the last part and nothing else. I have to like the whole thing.
And again, that's why we do the show together. We can have difference of
Right,
opinion
right.
and still be okay with
in the
one
same
another.
universe of something, yes.
I enjoyed having that break from just action. I needed something that was like more substant. But you get 2 of the best monologues in one of those episodes from 2 different people. You get the prison escape monologue.
Okay.
And then you get the guy who's leading the resistance, like he's helping to start the rebellion. He gives a monologue that the 2 combined, off the chain.
Well, again, I can't watch a show to watch the last 2 or 3 episodes. I mean,
No.
if that's where you're going to get me, I'm like, I got to have the whole thing to pull me in. But it's a difference of opinion. But they did have the Star Wars celebration, speaking of Star Wars, and they announced a lot of new Star Wars stuff, including I think, debuting a new Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny trailer. Trailer number 2 of that came out, too. So there's a lot of stuff on the horizon. And now I'll get into the Mandalorian Season 3, and I might sneak in a little discussion about Picard Season 3, which is actually blowing me away, which is
You've got
great.
me interested.
And we got a special guest coming on today on the program. I'll tell you when we come back. I'll just say this. Shazam. Shazam. Let's begin there.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. B. Arthur was born on May 13th, 1922, in New York City. She grew up in a household that valued the arts, and her mother encouraged her to pursue her love of acting. After graduating from high school, B. attended the prestigious Blackstone College for Girls, where she studied drama. But despite her training, she struggled to break into the entertainment industry during the 1940s and faced numerous rejections and setbacks, all the while refusing to give up. By the 1950s, Arthur began working steadily in theater, appearing in productions on and off Broadway, and in 1964, she earned a Tony Award in the musical Mame. But it was Bee's role as Maude Findlay on the hit TV show All in the Family that made her a household name. Maude was a bold, outspoken character who challenged traditional gender roles and tackled controversial social issues. The character became so popular that she got her own spin-off show simply called Maude. In the years that followed, Bee continued to work in television, earning an Emmy-winning lead role on the classic comedy The Golden Girls, which became one of the most beloved TV shows of all time. But her impact on the world extended far beyond her work as an actress. She was a fierce advocate for social justice and women's rights. She was also an animal lover and an environmentalist and supported numerous charities and nonprofits. In her later years, she lived a quiet life in Los Angeles with her husband, Gene Saks, until she passed away in 2009 at the age of 86. Bea Arthur was more than just an actress. She was a pioneer, a role model, and a true icon. Her legacy will continue to inspire generations to come, and her contributions to the world of entertainment will never be forgotten. This is Pat McCormick with your retro TV trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel at Golden Rage of TV and my Retro TV Radio podcast, available on most popular podcast platforms. And now back to BK on the air.
WBHF in Cartersville.
We're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450, 100.3 FM WBHF. I'm here with Alan Sanders. Yes, another show from the fabulous world of Norman Lear's television universe. Back before the MCU and the other shared universes in movies and cinema, we had a TV universe called the Norman Lear universe, on at least on CBS. Yeah.
The NLU.
It started with All in the Family and spun off to the Jeffersons, and then Maude spun off from the All in the Family because she was Edith's cousin, and then you had Florida from Good Times spun off from Maude because she was Maude's housekeeper, and then you had what am I missing? We had Archie Bunker's Place, which turned in to All in the Family turned into Archie Bunker's Place after Archie had bought the bar.
Did you already say the Jeffersons?
And the Jeffersons spun off. The Jeffersons were their neighbors on All in the Family, and Louise Jefferson was Edith's good friend, so they moved on up to the east side. All in the Family and Archie Bunker's Place spun off. Archie's daughter, Gloria, played by Sally Struthers, had her own show called Gloria, which I think didn't last even a season, maybe, or something like that. Someone may correct me. But it wasn't that great. She went to work for a veterinarian with her son Joey, and her and Meathead had already split up again. He went to join a commune something in the show. They actually talked about that, which wasn't surprising. And the veterinarian she worked for in Gloria was Burgess Meredith, played him in the sitcom. And we're forgetting one. There was a spinoff from the Jeffersons, believe it or not, when Florence left the show, their housekeeper, and it was called Checking In, where she was the head housekeeper or the manager of a local hotel or something, a large high-rise hotel where she was the head of the staff there. And that show, her boss in that show was Larry Linville from MASH. And that show failed. I don't think it even lasted a season either. So, but I think to this day, I don't know if I'm right, but let me think about it. All in the Family probably spun off directly and indirectly from its other shows as well. More shows than any other show on television. I'm trying to think. Maybe it did. Mary Tyler Moore was a close second.
That had a lot.
Because Mary Tyler Moore spun off Phyllis, Rhoda, Lou Grant, which actually spun off into a drama, which he was the same character. And was that the only ones from Mary Tyler Moore?
Did Bob Newhart?
No, Bob Newhart wasn't from
spin off
Mary
from
Tyler
any of those
Moore.
other shows?
No. And his show in the 70s had nothing to do with his 80s show.
They didn't have a crossover?
I don't think they crossed over, no. Now, Jack Webb had his own universe. You started with Dragnet, and you had Adam 12, then you had Emergency. So there was 3. So I really think All in the Family did most of them.
Had a couple.
Happy Days had a couple. Laverne and Shirley. Well, had 3.
Laverne and Shirley, Mork and Mindy,
and then Joni Loves Chachi. And I think, yes, All in the Family still got them beat, I think.
Oh, yeah, definitely All in the Family has more.
Now, I guess if you want to count Star Trek, maybe, Star Trek's had some, we can't count the films, but Star Trek has had some spin-off shows. Maybe it's now
Well, officially, I think anything that says this is Star Trek is a spin-off.
Well, I'm talking about TV universe. So if it's television shows, Star Trek's getting on up there now, too. So we'll have to sit down and tally them up one day and come up with it.
I think funny. Star Trek has more.
It may have.
Now that you've added Discovery, Brave New World, you've got Picard. These are all spin-offs.
Deep Space Nine.
The
Next Generation is a spin-off.
Right.
It's a sequel spinoff.
Because you had the original initially in season 1. They had Scotty show up in an episode.
Voyager was a show, so they may have done it. I don't know. Now, interesting that Pat McCormack was talking about B. Arthur from Maude. B. Arthur, and we were talking while we were on the break there about Maude having a Star Wars tie-in with the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978 on CBS, where she played the owner of the Cantina Band, and Art Carney from the Honeymooners was in the special as well. Harvey Korman was in the Star Wars Holiday Special. It just had a lot of stars of the time. It really did. It had a lot of things to it. And you had an interesting thing to add about Star Wars Holiday
Remember
Special.
this past Christmas, the homage to the Holiday Special was done as the Guardians Holiday Special.
Yes,
Guardians
on
of the Galaxy.
Disney Plus, Marvel, yeah.
And we knew James Gunn was doing kind of a tongue-in-cheek throwback to the dismal, horrifying Star Wars Holiday
Even with
Special.
a musical number, he down to the music number.
So my wife and I was talking about, like, I can't wait to see this, watch the trailer, and she goes, well, but why are they calling it the Holiday Special? I was like, well, because of the Star Wars Holiday Special.
Right.
She goes, what are you talking about?
Oh no!
Like
you didn't. You didn't do it.
Didn't know about the Star Wars Holiday?
You didn't go to YouTube,
She goes,
did you?
no. I said, look it up on YouTube.
Oh, you didn't show it to her. You just asked her to.
She went and started watching. She's like,
watching.
She didn't. I don't know if she ever finished, but she's like,
okay. You need to find out.
This is horrifying.
You need to find out if she finished it or not.
But somehow, where she grew up, either it just missed the TV guide or something happened and she just wasn't aware that it came on television.
Things got biased when we were kids. We didn't always see it stuff. Yeah.
And she's a Star Wars fan. Like like that helped bring us together. I was like, you like Star Wars? She goes, oh, I love Star Wars. I'm like, really? You and I can be friends. we can hang out.
Yours was Star Wars. Mine was Flash Gordon.
Yeah. So
Stacy. So.
But I think it was just funny because it was just she didn't know about it. And then when I, as a Gen Xer now, discovering it for the first time, she's like, this was on television? Like,
yeah, can't you tell?
I was like, this is, by the way,
that television quality.
I said, do you know that George Lucas spent a lot of money trying to round up every copy of this to try to prevent it from ever being seen? If it wasn't for the magic of the internet, nobody would even know that it was a real thing.
Because
it'd be a myth. We would be like, remember that song? No, that's all. You're lying.
We know that there's a crisp, pristine copy somewhere in a vault with the production company or whatever laying somewhere, and they could have for the longest time have released it officially on DVD or Blu-ray or something, and the fact that they haven't and probably never will, who knows, I don't know, stranger things have happened, it says something. I think somebody's calling 770-386-1450. Let's find out who's on the line. It's BK on there. Hello.
All in the Family had another sequel series.
Oh, am I missing? It's Eric. Hey, Eric, what All in the Family sequel am I thinking about that I didn't get?
704 Hauser Street.
You're right. With John Amos, who played the father on Good Times, he bought Archie Bunker's house. I think it was the early 90s, and it was called, the title of the show was the address of Archie's house, 704 Hauser. And it didn't last.
It also had a tie-in to All in the Family.
That's what I'm saying. It was an all-family sequel. Yeah, and John Amos was in it.
Was also the next door neighbor now.
Yeah, and it didn't last. I don't even think that lasted a season either, did it?
4 episodes.
704 Hauser. Thank you for calling and telling me that. I appreciate it. You're awesome to do that. Did you watch 704 Hauser?
I could watch it. I couldn't.
Right, but you'll agree that I think now that we're just thinking about Star Trek, the Norman Lear shows were probably one of the ones with the most sequel television shows that spun off from each other.
Yeah, because I counted.
Yeah. So.
How many did you come up with, Eric?
Counting 704. Six. Counting 704
Then
Hauser.
I think Star Trek is more.
Star Trek, I think, has more spinoffs, I guess, now. So maybe they beat it.
What?
Yep. Yeah, Star Trek has more than 6 now, I guess.
What do you mean, how?
Well, you had Star Trek, the original series. Then we spun off into The Next Generation. Then you spun off Deep Space Nine. Then you spun off to Voyager. Then you've got a streaming...
Enterprise.
Enterprise, which is this prequel show with Scott Bakula, which I thought was fantastic. No, we have to count it.
You have to count it. It is a
You have
spin-off.
Discovery streaming on Paramount. You have Strange New World streaming on Paramount. And you have Picard streaming on
7.
Paramount. That's 7. Wow.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
They beat it, I guess, by 1.
Wait a second. Isolate. Save it. That's my
I'm gonna
new
save
text
that
message.
soundbite.
I was wrong.
I'm going to say that soundbite.
Eric, it happens the older you get.
Well, thanks for calling and telling me, buddy. I appreciate it.
I'll be 40 next month. Don't remind me.
It's all right. I'll get something wrong again. You can call me next month or next week or whenever. I'm glad you can do it.
Yeah.
All right. Love you.
For 5 seconds.
Love you. Bye.
See you, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Happy Easter.
But I'm glad that he pointed it out because I did forget 704 Hauser and John Amos, who played the dad, who also played in Die Hard 2. Remember him in Die Hard 2?
Yes, he was a great bad guy.
He was a great bad guy in Die Hard 2.
He was also in Beastmaster.
Beastmaster, he was. He was. When he was in Roots, he was the older Kunta Kinte in the miniseries Roots. So
He's
John Amos
actually
is
a very
great actor.
prolific actor.
He is.
He was
very
in
good
Coming
actor.
to America. He was the owner of
That's right.
McDowell's.
He was.
Look, they've
they've
got the golden arches.
Yeah.
We've got the, what do you call it? We're the golden something.
Was it? What was it? It wasn't a W, was it? What was this called? I can't remember what it was called. I loved Coming to America because we know that it was part of the John Landis universe.
Right.
Because they found on the street the two old guys from Trading Places were out there, and they were the same names, Mortimer and the other guy's name. And I thought that was great because they were homeless now on a thing rolling around on the sidewalk.
That's funny.
I saw that and I'm like, oh, I'm in. This is great. Shared universe. What a cool, I guess, episode or a whole segment. Well, wait, we just did a whole segment on it, so we don't have to do it. Well, we'll still do it if we want to. We're going to flash the audience. We didn't get to the main story about Star Wars news and stuff, but we'll do that after we flash the audience. And Michael Gray from Shazam scheduled to come up, guest on the show at the top of the next hour.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Yeah. Here comes Zeke the Flavor Freak. He's always looking for great flavor, and his tongue will try anything to get it. How do you make his tongue happy? Watch.
Lifesavers, please don't wait. Life's the juicy flavors make your mouth feel great. Hey, Lifesavers.
Tongues just love the big juicy flavor of Lifesavers rolled candy.
Hey, Lifesavers. Lifesavers lollipops, lots of fun. News for flavors to taste in one. Hey, Lifesavers. Whoa, Lifesavers.
Don't pout, check it out. Zach's gonna show you what work's about.
Jenny, oh Benny.
You're gonna make a good penny when you know you have many talents. Name 4.
I can cook and fix a car, read a book and gaze at stars. What kind of jobs am I good for? Tell me.
Chef, engineer, journalist, astronomer.
What you like to do today can help you find a job that pays planet.
Benny, oh Benny.
You're gonna make a good penny when you know you have many talents. Name 4. I can sketch, my math is strong, build a desk, sing a song. What kind of jobs am I good for? Tell me.
Painter, computer whiz, carpenter, showbiz.
What you like to do today can help you find a job that pays planet.
Every one of us has got what it takes, and with some thought,
you can make your dreams come true by finding out just what to do.
Study, plan, train.
We now return to our program.
You are listening to BK on the Air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online on the Tunein radio app. Now, back to a guy who'll make you feel really young, mostly because he's so old. It's BK on the Air.
It is me. It's BK on the Air here with Alan Sanders live at WBHF on a Saturday morning, having a wonderful time. I want to give a big shout out and thanks to Eric for calling us to let us know about the All in the Family spinoff that we forgot about, 704 Hauser, and to James Install from It's All Geek to Me Radio from St. Louis AM KTRS AM 550. He's got a great show on Sunday. If you've never checked him out, you got to check him out for calling me off the air and saying, hey, you forgot about several animated Star Trek series that came out. So now that I forgot about the Star Trek animated shows and that did come out in the last few years, and one of them in 1974, the animated series from Filmation on NBC, Saturday mornings. Star Trek has definitely surpassed All in the Family. So now Star Trek, I think, has more spin-off television series of any TV series in history.
If you count the animated.
Now,
I mean, we knew that with just the live action, but now, yeah.
But, you know, give us a couple of years. If Star Wars may pass Star Trek, if you think about it. Because they keep adding
shows.
Even more.
Right.
But I count streaming series because we're counting them.
Right.
I have to count those. It's in a television small screen format.
So you've
not
got
the movies.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, which their first streaming show was. The first streaming show was The Mandalorian. But if you count TV movies, do you count Battle of Endor in the early 80s on television?
Don't you count? We got to go back. Don't you go to Clone Wars?
Clone Wars? Do we count the holiday special on television? Those weren't series. That's not a series. You're right.
I think the Clone Wars.
But the Clone Wars was a television series. Yes,
right.
you're
That
right.
was a spin-off of the movies.
So we'll have to think. It's going to take too long. We need
Right.
to just go through them. I mean,
you got
either off
Mandalorian,
the
you
air
had
or whatever.
Book of Boba Fett, you had Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
Now they're talking about the Ashoka series. You're talking about
because they're going to come out. The one called The Acolyte.
The Acolyte, and well, you might. Hey, it's a perfect. Well, no, I don't want.
I
to
mean, I got a lot of Star Wars news coming up, but we'll count them up and tally it up.
It may be trying to catch up to Star Trek
because they're not out yet. We can't officially count them,
True.
but it's
They
definitely on its way.
Could get canceled.
Yeah, it could, yeah. Or they could pull the plug like they pulled the plug on 3 or 4 of them already that they said they were going to do, but now they're not. So, but it's not time for that quite yet. Right now, it's that wonderful time that we like to blast the audience of the news, the weird, the strange, and the bizarre. And I have the first news. Put my glasses on here because I got glasses. I forgot and I didn't print it out in 14 font. So I try to. Pretty soon they're like, "Why are you're printing out 4 newsflash stories and it takes up 12 pages?" Well, I used 35 font. Sorry, I didn't mean to have to do that. A Connecticut man known as the Croc King is seeking Guinness World Record recognition for his collection of more than 2,000 pairs of the divisive footwear. Is it divisive, really? I mean, I know I don't like them, but I didn't know it was divisive footwear. Doggy Lish Sand Tiger, 32, yeah, that's the name, said his initial distaste for the rubber clogs changed when he got his first pair at age 16. Sand Tiger's collection now features 2,127 different pair of Crocs, and he regularly updates the count on his Instagram page. The collection, which includes celebrity collections and promotional shoes like the fried chicken-scented KFC Crocs that we bring up on the show from time to time, recently earned Sand Tiger a featured appearance on Vice TV reality series Most Expensivest. Never heard of it, but I guess it's a show. Hosted by rapper 2 Chainz. Never heard of him either. Sand Tiger, of course that doesn't mean anything if I've never heard of him. I haven't heard of a lot of people. Sand Tiger said that he is hoping his collection will earn him a Guinness World Record for largest collection of Crocs. I think it has, it says. He says he also hopes to one day show off his collection in a Croc museum. Me personally, I think it's a Croc.
The only Crocs I like are pots.
Yeah. And I'm getting more and more, the older I get, the more I'm saying the phrase, I don't know who that is. Oh, someone's hosting a show. I don't know who that is. Who is that?
That hurts.
Someone's guest starring on The Mandalorian. I have no idea who that is. And I said that
What do you mean guest
this
star?
week.
That means they're a star?
Or guesting or just
What did
appearing.
they star in?
Just appearing on The Mandalorian. The recent Mandalorian has someone in it that I have no idea who
That's
it is.
the other problem with that show. It's turning into The Simpsons. They want to be a guest celebrity
Well,
on the show.
the latest episode is kind of a filler letdown. And you'll see when you get to it.
All right. You know what? I've got the next news.
You're like a stormtrooper. Move along.
Move along.
Move along.
A South African pilot had to make an emergency landing when he found himself in a situation straight out of the movies.
Oh, which movie, though?
Venomous snake was
Oh, no.
under his seat. Man, we got snakes on the plane.
Samuel Jackson, snakes on a plane. Of course, this is a singular snake, I guess, right?
Right. Well, all it takes is one.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they said about everything.
Pilot Rudolf Erasmus was flying a private plane carrying 4 passengers from, looks like Bloemfontein to Pretoria
Do your
when he
best.
found himself in a situation reminiscent of the film Snakes on a Plane. It actually says it.
Wow.
Erasmus said he initially thought the cold sensation he felt through his shirt was his water bottle leaking. As it turned out, to my left, and as it turned out, I looked to my left and looked down. I could see the head of the snake receding back underneath my seat.
What I would be thinking.
At which point, there was a moment of stunned silence, to be brutally honest. He's like, I kind of froze. Erasmus said it took him a few moments to register that he had just seen a highly venomous Cape Cobra. The pilot quickly made arrangements for an emergency landing at the closest airport at Welcome, and I guess they were welcome there at Welcome.
Oh, jeez.
And
that's
informed his
terrible.
passengers of the slithering stowaway. Quote,
The
you could
slithering
hear a
stowaway.
needle drop, and I think everyone froze for a moment or two. That's what he said to the BBC. Unlike the 2006 film, the plane landed with no one being bitten by the cobra.
Well,
the
that's
passengers
good.
and crew were able to disembark safely. And I believe
Do you
that's
know
it.
that they just named the perfect name for a sequel to Snakes on a Plane? If they did a sequel, why couldn't they call it
Snakes on a Plane 2, The Slithering Stowaway?
No,
that could be like the subtitle of it.
The Cabin Cobra. Hey, that's a good idea.
I got the next news.
Well, you even did it backwards.
Again from UPI. Yeah, that snake thing. I couldn't think about that. That's terrible. A South Carolina man's 2 foot 1 inch whiskers earned him the Guinness World Record, another record for the longest mustache on a living person. Why, does they some on unliving people? I don't know.
2 feet 1 inches.
Paul Slar of Somerville had the length of his mustache verified by the National, I didn't even know there was an organization.
Wow.
The National Beard and Mustache Championships in Casper, Wyoming, and the measurement was submitted to the Guinness World Record for verification. Slosar sports an English-style mustache defined by the World Beard and Mustache Championship as, quote, slender, beginning from the middle of the upper lip with the hairs extremely long and pulled out to the side. Tips may be lifted slightly, unquote. You know, the kind he can twirl. Like the villain.
Right.
I must have the lint before I put you on the railroad tracks. The facial hair enthusiast says he sported the mustache for about 30 years. It would take that long for you to grow one that long, I guess, probably. And me too, because I don't have it in me. Slolar said he was visiting a motorcycle show in Tacoma, Washington, when he was approached and asked to participate in a facial hair competition. To his surprise, he won the titles for Best Mustache and Best in Show.
That's
so
wild.
There you go. And I saw a picture of it. You can see it on there if you search for it. It's big. It's a huge stash.
It'd be like a whisker is coming off of a cat or a dog.
Yeah, and it's not that it's long. It's kind of full and wide and
but
out.
But it's 25 inches.
Yeah.
That's.
Who do you think? Let me put this to you because someone put the question out there in pop culture. Who had the most popular pop culture mustache? And I have two that I think would be a tie.
Know. My number one would be Tom Selleck.
Your number one would be Tom Selleck, but some people would argue Burt Reynolds too. So and that's the two that I was about to bring up right there. You could interchange either one of them as 1 and 2, and I would gladly accept it. Now also, what was the other thing I was getting at? Mustaches. There was a controversy on $6 Million Man. I've said this before. When Steve Austin grew a mustache, and I don't know what season it was in, 3rd, 4th, or 5th, or whatever. One of the seasons he grew a mustache, and we, at least me and my friends were like, "Wait, hey,
yeah,
he doesn't look right. What's with the mustache? We hate that." And I think the next season he got rid of it because it didn't match this action figure, and they never released an action figure with the stash that you could put on and take off. No, I never want to do that. It's PK on the air.
What's the worth of a man? For Steve Austin, it's $6 million.
Colonel Austin is in that plane.
I think they're going to shoot us down.
Isn't there any other way?
Lee Majors is Steve Austin. Steve Austin is the $6 million man, and he's worth every penny.
This boy is running out of steam. Why did he run out of steam so soon? He didn't fuel up. With a good breakfast. Cheerio! Like this good, nutritious breakfast with toast, juice, milk, and yummy Cheerios, which has almost no sugar. When you fuel up in the morning with a Cheerios breakfast,
it'll really get you going.
Cheerio!
Hershey is real milk chocolate. I love that Hershey bar. Hershey is that's something special no matter where you are. Anytime you want delicious chocolate, there's no need to go looking very far. Hershey's great! 'Cause Hershey is the great American chocolate bar.
Having that inevitable aging conversation off the air here. It's BK on the air, talking about losing your hair turning gray, knowing friends that do that and whatnot. And we're glad that we kept our hair. You and I are. We're thankful for that. I've lost other things, but not my hair, which is fine. I'd rather have other things gone that you can't tell.
I've lost my filter, my wife says. She's like, I wish you would learn to keep those comments to yourself. I'm like, I'm at a point where whatever.
My mom has lost her filter in public, and I have to be like, oh, here we go. We're going to go in the grocery store. What's she going to say today that I got to go back and apologize for? Oh, my goodness. She really lets people know what she thinks. That's okay. I don't mind it.
Well, we didn't quite finish. I've got another news flash. An Egyptian swimmer put his skills to the test and broke a Guinness World Record when he completed his 7.24-mile swim in the open waters of the Arabian Gulf.
Well, what's so special about that?
Let's find out. Alam A-L-L-A-M, Alam, maybe it's Alam, broke the previous record of 5.35 miles set by U.S. swimmer Benjamin Katzman in 2021.
Okay.
The record-breaking swim took Alam about 6 hours to complete.
Again, I've heard it easier than that with swimmers before.
Now,
What's
what
the big deal?
record-breaking swim did he complete, you ask? He was wearing handcuffs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's impressive.
During the training, I used to attract curious glances when I have the handcuffs on. To avoid drawing too much attention, I prefer to swim in quieter areas, typically near the limit line of the beaches, although I still receive some stares, he told GWR News. Alam said he might someday be able to break his own record as he is still perfecting the technique he calls the double arm pull and modified side stroke.
I didn't know where you were going with that because I'm like, well, what's the big deal? Is he swimming in the lake with no water? Because if you swim on the ground of a lake, then there's no water. That would take a long time to do that in the swimming position. Well, that's interesting. All right, so you did that one. So I need to do the one that I went out of order in and do the next news.
Right.
The owner of a ramen noodle eatery in Japan said that he is banning customers from using their phones in order to speed up seating times and preserve the integrity of the dish. That's the reason he's not because it's antisocial, because I guess it is. I wonder if you're by yourself, he's still doing it. That's interesting. Kota Kai, owner and operator of Tokyo eatery Debu-chan, it says, I want to make sure we pronounce those right, said he noticed the customers who waited the longest to dig into the bowls of ramen noodles placed in front of them tended to be watching YouTube videos on their phones. Kai said he was concerned not only about the customers tying up valuable seating space during peak hours, but about the way thin Hakata ramen noodles stretch out and are ruined after too many minutes in the soup. So he's concerned about his cooking and how it's presented to his connoisseurs that come in to eat. The restaurant owner first pitched the idea of a smartphone ban on Twitter, and positive responses led to his enticing the policy. Kai said he is not posting any signs about the phone ban, but he has started speaking to customers individually about keeping their phones put away during mealtime. That's not a bad idea. I think if somebody wants to do that,
it's a good idea.
It's his place.
For a while, that was the challenge. Remember that? Everybody, if you met with a bunch of friends, you stacked your phones on the table, and the first person that reached for it had to pay the tip.
I heard about that, but we never did it. But yeah, you're right.
Or pick up the bill if you're really mean.
Yeah. I didn't want to participate in it because I knew I'd be the one probably picking mine up the first time, and I didn't want to do that.
That's my problem.
I
All right,
I've got
the last news.
Pay the bill. Pay the bill. You're going to pay in more ways than one, buddy.
All right, we head to an auction company. They're expecting to fetch between $10,000 and $15,000 for an unusual piece of music history. The MTV gong from the 80s.
Oh, the gong! Was they use it for a special or on the set or something?
I think it was in the animated, the branding logo of MTV, and they hit that gong.
Really, I don't know where they.
Yeah, Bohams said the MTV gong, which is available for bidding until 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or EDT, Friday, was one of two made for the cable network. The one in the auction was used by MTV at events and on air throughout the decade. It was famously used by Tina Turner when she appeared as a guest presenter for a show where she talked about her favorite music videos. That was in 1986. She kicked off the show by turning upside down on the gong. She kicked off the show by turning upside down on the gong stand to bang the gong with her feet.
Tina Turner. I don't remember seeing that though.
The paste steel hammer gong, which bears the MTV logo, does not include a stand, the auction site states. You have to get your own stand.
Right.
Stand not included.
I want my MTV.
Too much.
What? Yeah, too much. Never
enough.
Yeah, do I have time to do this? I'll do it, and we'll pick it up later if we have to. Or do I have a shorter story I can do? This one's long. The whole Star Wars thing, with all the new Star Wars stuff coming out from the Star Wars celebration, there's a lot of it. So I may do this instead. Why don't we do this? No.
If you take long enough, you won't have to do anything.
I'll just have to wait and go to the commercial. This is kind of quick. This is cool. This is from WSB-TV here in Atlanta and Douglas County, Georgia. Major movie and television production studios are coming to Metro Atlanta. One of the biggest movie studios, another one really, in the world is building a major new facility here in Metro ATL. Lionsgate will be the lead tenant at a new film and TV complex in Douglas County. That's just outside of Metro Atlanta. It will open later this year in 2023. Lionsgate Studios Atlanta will be located in the Great Point Studios, located off Interstate 20 at Fairburn Road in Douglasville, here locally. The facility will be on 40 acres and cost around $160 million to build. The 500,000 square foot full-service entertainment complex will have 12 sound stages, office and support space, a restaurant, a parking for 400 cars, and 100 trucks. Now, Governor Brian Kemp said, quote, "When the pandemic struck, we worked hard in Georgia to communicate with our partners in the Georgia film, TV, and streaming industries. Together, we forged a safe and appropriate path to allow the film industry to return to operations and deliver Georgia-made products to eager consumers around the world. Because of this partnership approach and the resiliency of our state's film and television infrastructure, we are once again enjoying incredible growth and investment for film industry leaders like Lionsgate and Great Point Studios. These projects will support hardworking Georgians and ensure that we are a top producer of television shows and feature films for years to come," unquote. So there you go. That's actually an official press release. I read the whole thing, and I think it's great because we're getting another movie studio here in Georgia. I mean, we're on our way to being, I thought we were huge with that already, but we're still continuing to grow in the film industry.
I honestly believe,
We really
I
are.
read this somewhere, that now Georgia, the state of Georgia, when you talk about all of the square footage of movie studio space,
right?
Not just using our land. I'm talking about dedicated, like these
Just
sound
for that
stages.
only, yeah.
We are the fourth now largest in the world. We have surpassed New York City
Wow,
City
that's
and
nice.
state.
I like that.
That we are now number 4, and I think he mentions the pandemic.
Right.
Remember, California stayed closed for so long,
And that did
all
affect
these
them.
studios were like, but we can go to Georgia, they're open, we can shoot these videos.
Because we still gotta be-
We can still go to our friends online and go, yes, wear a mask, but we can go to Georgia and do our
Right.
jobs.
And they still had to make their product. They couldn't stop filming. They weren't going to stop. So, and I think it's great. And I've read too that I think we give them a tax break or incentive,
If you
and it's
put
economical.
the Georgia logo,
for
you
them
can
to
get
be
up
here.
to a 30% tax break.
Wow, that would affect your budget for your film, wouldn't
The
it?
bean counters tend to
Or
look
your
at that
show.
and go, wait
So
a minute.
I would think about that would be important. So, bravo. I like being part of the entertainment industry here. I may not always agree with what they do, but I do agree that I like entertainment. I love movies. I love television. I love the whole process of the creativity.
We've said this before.
And knowing they're here is cool.
Being Gen Xers, we can actually separate the person and their
Sure,
art.
I can do
we
that.
can appreciate what you produce.
Yeah.
We don't have to agree with your politics.
No.
We don't take it personally.
No, I never take it personally. I mean, if it's a great movie, I love the movie no matter what. And that's since the movies began. I mean, I'm
Right.
a fan of movies from the 20s all the way up till present. A lot of people didn't join in watching movies until they were like, teenagers and like, oh, I only watch movies that came out when I was in high school forward. I'm like, well, there's a lot of movies that came out before that you should
You're
watch.
missing
And
out on
like,
some
you're missing
good
on
flicks if you do
half
that.
of the movies that came out over history. But I do like that. We've talked before that sometimes that we're, especially when I think it was the first Spider-Man film, Spider-Man Homecoming, or one of the films that was filming here locally in Bartow County. I was on my way home from the station one day, or it was one night. I was running home from Cartersville, headed south. And the road was blocked at the bridge on the road that leads to Highway 41. And I'm like, oh, man, why am I stopped? This is terrible. I have to get home. I don't want to, sit in traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talked to the police officer that was out there, and I just said, hey, what's going on up there? Is it a wreck or something? He's like, no, they're filming a movie up there. And you know what's weird? It's such a double standard because once I understand the movie was being filmed, I'm like, oh, I'm not mad anymore.
That's okay.
kind of cool.
You know what? Maybe I'll see somebody I know.
Yeah, that'd be great. Later on, I found out, I didn't know what it was then, but I found out it was part of Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
Was being filmed. It was the scene where Peter was in that truck out in the middle of like it was driving out in the rural area on like a 4-lane highway, and he's stuck in the truck and he can't get out with the weapons inside the truck, and there was like a gas station. So I understand, that was the scene they were filming there in that area. I'm like, that's super cool.
That area has been used multiple times for multiple
It's
movies.
just a cool straightaway of road with the overpass. It looks cool. They blocked off the entire downtown Cartersville. It was so fun when they had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 filming here in Cartersville, standing in for a Missouri town. It was really cool seeing them here. And with what little screen time Cartersville had on screen, you're like, man, they shut us down for 3 days here in downtown Cartersville just to get those few precious, 20 or 30 seconds of film that they used on the... that's where your budget goes. It takes money to film movies, hence why they come here to save money, and we don't mind it. It's BK on the Air here in Georgia. It's Broadcast Central, where we film a lot of movies here, and a radio show, which is mine. It's BK on the Air.
Let's get Beauty Secrets Barbie ready for a date. She has lots of beauty secrets.
Beauty secrets, Barbie style.
lovely long hair and a beautiful smile.
Press her back and you can make Beauty Secrets Barbie move her arms to use her beauty kit.
Sport and Shave Ken, how does Barbie get so beautiful?
She knows beauty secrets.
Beauty Secrets Barbie doll comes with a beauty kit. Sport and Shave Ken dolls sold separately. From Mattel.
You and your underoos. Spider-Man! Can you tell us who is who? The Flash! Is Superman on the left? No, right!
Underoos look out of sight.
Superman!
All of us were all good
The
guys.
Hulk! You can pick your favorite if you try. Yes, you can! Underwear is fun to wear. It's true when it's you and your underoos. Wow, now there's the Dukes from the Dukes of Hazzard. Bo, Luke, and General Lee. It's true, are all on your underoos.
Inside the Stomper 4x4's Wild Mountain set, you'll find 2 Stomper 4x4's trucks. And when you power them up with batteries you buy separately, the lights go on and 4 road-grabbing wheels go to work with 4-wheel drive. 4-wheel drive means you can climb right over the mountain road part. You can tackle almost any surface, almost any incline, because 4-wheel drive means power. Other sets and vehicles sold separately from Shopper.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here on AM 1450 and 100.3 FM WBHF. Having a good time every Saturday. And I try to return to that Saturday morning cartoon feel with the show. We don't really have Saturday morning shows and Saturday morning cartoons. There's still shows, but it's not shows and cartoons like it used to be, like maybe back in the 70s. Like maybe back in 1973, 74 on CBS Saturday morning when they'd show a live-action series that I always loved.
Yeah, you were saying cartoons.
Shazam and live-action shows like Shazam. And then later on, they did turn it into a cartoon. In fact, let's go back and let's turn the magic TV we have on here in the studio and that always plays old Saturday shows and turn it on and see what we can hear while we're at it here with BK on the air.
A poet named John Donne said, "No man is an island." What he meant was that we all need each other. There are a lot of things we can do by ourselves, and it's a good feeling when we can. But it's kind of foolish, and maybe even dangerous, to try to do something by ourselves when we don't know how. Asking for help or advice when we need it isn't a sign of weakness. It shows you're smart. See you next week.
That's right. It was Shazam on CBS television, produced by Filmation, one of the great production studios from the 70s and 80s that put out a lot of shows that I love. And on the line, joining us right now, is Michael Gray, who portrayed Billy Batson that you heard right there in Shazam at the end of that episode. Hey, Mike. Oh, it's morning for you.
Morning.
It's morning for both of us. So you're a little behind over there on the West Coast. Let me run down what he's been in. Best known for his portrayal of Billy Batson in Shazam, 72 to 73. He appeared as Ronnie Collins. You were on Brian Keith's show, NBC sitcom as Ronnie Collins. You've done the Brady Bunch, you've done Marcus Welby, MD, The Flying Nun, Room 2222, and you also did a great dramatic television movie with Burt Reynolds once called Run, Simon, Run, which I finally got to catch it a few years ago on YouTube, and it was really great. You've actually appeared on as TV's Michael Gray on Archer, and you've actually been on an episode of the Comic Book Men, hanging out with those guys who were able to, they're all dressed in your red and yellow shirt. And not a lot of people know that you were TV Star of the Year. You got the award for that in 1974 and 75 in Germany by Bravo magazine. And you've been on the cover of Tiger Beat magazines, a lot of the teen magazines. So if I went any further, I wouldn't have any time to interview you, Mike. That's a lot of stuff, man.
Great, all those years ago. And the thing with Burt Reynolds, the Run, Simon, Run movie, when I played his brother, that's what really started me in the Tiger Beat magazine. Yeah, so many people saw that, so many kids saw that, and contacted Tiger Beat and said, "Who's Michael Gray? He's playing Burt Reynolds' brother in the TV movie Run, Simon, Run." So the guys from Tiger Beat said, "We'll bring him in." So they contacted my agent. They brought me in. They started doing articles about me and pictures about me to make these kids happy. This is Michael Gray. And they liked it more. Next thing I know, it was on the cover.
That's awesome.
So that started. It was Burt Reynolds doing that. And the next thing I know, I was cast in a Little People TV series.
You know what's funny, Alan? I got Alan Sanders here with me. You and Michael Gray have something in common. You've both been in a movie with Burt Reynolds.
One degree of separation here.
Yeah, Alan was in a production here in Cartersville of a movie called Hamlet and Hutch. At the end of the film, he was shared the screen with Burt Reynolds, and
That's nice. He was a very nice guy, very humble, very cool. He was very nice.
Yeah, Michael Gray gets him at the beginning of Burt Reynolds' career. I got him at the end.
You got him at the end.
We were the
That's
bookends.
okay. You're the bookends of Burt Reynolds. Yeah. Well, Michael, I'm always glad to have you on the show. You're a great pal, and you made a friend of mine's day the other day when you spoke to him and said hi to him. He's a big fan of yours, and I appreciate that. But we can add something else to your resume, something that you couldn't say anything about just a few scant months ago. There's a new. If you have been living under a rock, you don't know this, people. There's a new Shazam movie. Shazam: Fury of the Gods is in the theaters right now from Warner Brothers in D.C. And our buddy, our pal, Michael Gray, has a long, I wish he'd had a cameo in the first film, but you have a cameo in this new Shazam movie. Tell everybody how that came about, since you can say it now.
I wanted to do Shazam 1. My fans wanted me to do Shazam 1, and they all wanted me to do Shazam 2 as well. And next thing I know, my manager called me and said, Michael, you got a cameo in Shazam: Fear the Gods, a scene with Zachary Levi. I said, you're kidding me. I was so thrilled. Next thing I knew, I was on a plane flying to Atlanta, Georgia, went to wardrobe, and I was wearing my Billy Batson costume, too. I brought it in, and they liked it. And they had a Billy Batson costume made up for me as well. And then I was there for 2 days working with Zachary Levi, Captain Marvel. It was amazing working with him. It really was.
Whom I also hear that's like Burt Reynolds, your experience with Burt Reynolds, I've also heard Zachary's a really nice guy, great guy, too.
Zachary's very humble, and he's one of the most popular superhero actors in the business right now. He's a very humble guy, very nice. After we finished shooting our scene, we were hugging each other, hanging out with each other, patting each other back, saying how happy it was to be working with each other. I said, I love working with you, Zachary. I said, I love working with you. Maybe we can work together again, because we did Denver Pop Culture Con about 4 years earlier with Asher Angel, too, who was also in Shazam Fury, the first Shazam movie. So I got to work with him again, and it was cool.
So
Zachary said, I want to work with you again, Michael.
So you got to see most of the cast of from the first Shazam film at a convention before. So you'd already met them, the kid that plays Billy and Zachary who plays Shazam as well. So you had seen them before you met them on the set of the cameo, yeah, right?
Yeah, I met him at Denver Pop Culture Con about 4 years ago.
Well, it's got to be. I've always wanted, and I've got a question coming up from a listener that because I put it out there that you're going to be on the air today, and I got a question from a listener I want to ask you that has something to do with that. Actually, I'll go ahead and ask it now since we're talking about the TV show and the movie. Tammy wanted me to ask you. She emailed me and said, "Hey, I'm a big fan of Michael Gray and Shazam. I follow him on social media. Could you ask him?" What's the big difference? Was there a big difference between being on the set of a 70s television production and now you were on the set of a 2023 big budget motion picture film? She says there's got to be a big difference. What are the biggest differences from going from that to that, and what maybe has changed over the years with those two types of production?
Well, really, the most effective comment on that would be special effects. What they did in the movie, the special effects were so much better than they were in the Shazam TV series. Just Zachary Levi doing all these scenes, flying around, fighting a dragon. It was amazing. The special effects were absolutely amazing, blew me away. The production itself, the crew itself, and all the people that were on the set made me feel like the good old days, too. Back in the good old days, doing a TV movie like that was fantastic again. Our Shazam crew back in the 70s was fantastic, too, because they were doing TV shows, so many TV shows back in the 60s. So it was a fantastic crew. I would just say, really, the most amazing effective difference was the special effects. It was amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I guess it would be, because a lot has changed, and the scope of a film has to be different. I do remember Patrick Stewart and the guys in Star Trek saying when they went from television to their first Star Trek movie, they're like, it's kind of the same sets, but they had to rebuild them, relight them for motion picture. They had to redo a lot of things. Cameramen were different. It's just a different aspect and just a different feel kind of going from, at least then it was. Now we have streaming series that are now our motion picture quality that you can watch streaming on Netflix. They're all big budget now, whether it be Game of Thrones or the Star Wars series or some of the Marvel shows like the Daredevil and some of the other superhero shows that are on. They blur the line between motion picture
And television shows.
And television shows now, because they are like mini movies now. They spend a lot of money on them. You know, it has to be kind of surreal, Michael, when you're growing up and you see, and you got to give me a little idea, because I'll never know what it feels like. What does it feel like to go out, see your face on the cover of magazines, see like maybe an action figure, or you in a comic book, or you in an animated show from Shazam, from that type of entertainment? When you see yourself plastered around, at first it's got to be weird and kind of odd. I asked some of the Battlestar Galactica folks like Dirk Benedict and Richard Hatch back in the day what it was like seeing themselves as an action figure and being on a lunchbox and stuff. How does that feel? How does one deal with that when you have that type of exposure out there?
It was pretty amazing. It really was. It was a little difficult sometimes too. There were times I couldn't leave my apartment building because people found out where I was living, and security would call my apartment and say, "Don't come downstairs the lobby. There's a bunch of people outside waiting for you."
Wow, yeah.
So it got to the point where I couldn't leave the apartment sometimes.
I guess
that's awesome.
Anybody, I guess, in a celebritydom, whether it's music, movies, television, isn't that sort of like that double-edged sword? The fact that you are recognized, you feel kind of good about it, the work you've done, but on the flip side, suddenly you lose that anonymity that you may sometimes want.
Yeah, and there were times I would go downstairs just to meet everybody. There was a time my manager, Chuck Laufer, who owned Tiger Beat and Fave magazine, they took me to the Forum to see the Osmonds perform. And we were walking down the center of the auditorium to see the Osmonds perform.
Oh, wow.
And we were about the fifth row center. So I got to my seat, the row, and next thing I know, hundreds of people were coming up to me to see me, to touch me. They were pulling on my shirt, yanking on my hair, trying to get pieces of my hair off as a souvenir.
Wow.
Next thing I know, the security guards grabbed me, picked me up, took me off the floor, threw me into a broom closet, locked the door, and I was in there for over an hour while the Osmonds were performing.
Probably saved you from bodily harm, too, right?
Yeah, they were trying to save me, but unfortunately I got to miss the Osmonds perform.
Oh, no.
Then they brought me out when the show was over. They pulled me out of the room closet. I was in there for an hour.
Jeez, wow. Well, I can understand that. I mean, at one point, I mean, I talked to Barry Williams once from the Brady Bunch, and he said at the height of the Brady Bunch, he did that as well. You talk a lot about Les Tremayne being on the show with you as mentor. He was a legend back in the day in the 40s and 50s, and a legendary voice he had as well. Doing the show the way you did. I know that you're one of the most approachable celebrities out there that people may remember back from a show that they grew up with, and there's ways to check give everybody the way that they can find out where you are in case they want to touch base and send you a message. Take this opportunity to tell everyone how everybody can contact and get in contact with you for things like that, Michael Gray.
Well, the best thing is Comic-Cons, actually. They actually meet me in person. And that's one of the reasons I love doing Comic-Cons, because I get to meet my fans. Because if it wasn't for the fans, I wouldn't have been so successful as I was in Tiger Beat. That's why I love meeting my fans. I really do. That's why I love doing Comic-Cons. Well, people all over the country are asking me to do Comic-Cons in their cities because they used to watch Shazam back in the 70s, and now they're watching Shazam for the Gods. They want to meet me.
Mm-hmm.
Even people in your area, in Georgia, have been asking me to come down there and do Comic-Con so they can meet me, hang out with me.
That's right.
So I'll see what happens with my booking agents. If they book me in Comic-Cons all over the place, I'll love it. I love meeting my fans. That's the best part of doing Comic-Con.
You've got a lull in the action right now, but like I say, I've been posting a lot of your appearances and your cameo and stuff on all of my social media, and I'm always tagging. I'm tagging DragonCon in Atlanta, so they'll at least see. Anytime you're tagged on social media, you get a notification that someone's tagged you, and they'll see it.
I would love that, Barry. That would be great. That's why I wanted to meet you when I was doing Shazam Fear the Gods movie. We shot it in Atlanta, Georgia. But they told me, the production company said, it's a non-disclosure agreement. Don't tell anyone your movie.
That's right.
It comes out. They want people to be surprised and they go in the theater. Oh, there's Michael Gray. We didn't know he was in the movie.
The last thing I want you doing is talking to your goofball guy that has a radio show while you're here. I understand that, but it would have been nice. But again, Alan and I were talking about a new production facility that Lionsgate is building here in Atlanta. A brand new studio. Another one is moving into Atlanta, so it's good to hear that Shazam did film here as well. Well, you know what, Michael? It's always a pleasure to have you on the air. I always catch you on your social media wherever you are. I consider you a buddy, and I always look forward to every time you're coming on to talk about Shazam and all the memories that you made that everyone loves and grew up with, including me and a lot of my buddies as well.
I agree, Barry. Yeah.
And soon we'll have to do another YouTube appearance on the Retro Palooza that we did with our pals as well, like Pat McCormack and Dave Sudstrom and those guys. And because everyone, if anybody knows them, like, hey, I didn't know Michael Gray was out there. I was a big fan he was on the show. Anybody that would say that could learn and find out exactly where you are and have a great time touching base with you. And like I say, keep up with you and find out when you announce where you're going to be. They're like, oh, I'm going to go to that convention and meet him and let him sign a photo. It's a big thrill for a lot of people that are fans of yours.
Yes, and I like doing Pat McCormick's podcast. He's a nice guy.
He is a nice guy. Pat McCormick is I love having his segment every Saturday here at BK on there with the Golden Rays of TV. Michael, it's always a pleasure, buddy. Stay in contact. I'll touch base with you again next week, and if you have anything going on, you let me know, and I'll help you promote it and get it out there.
I will definitely let you know. I'm supposed to do the next Sergio Parra movie, too. I'm not sure when they're going to do that, but this time they said they're going to be wearing a complete superhero movie. I'm a superhero costume.
We'll look forward to that. Michael, always a pleasure. Take care and stay safe, buddy.
You too, Barry. Take care of yourself. Good working with you again. I love doing your show with you.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Until next time.
Michael Gray,
right,
TV's Michael Gray, as he's called, Shazam.
Well, now...
Who we both have the same name wife. He has a Stacy and I have a Stacy wife.
Now we can say blockbuster cameo appearance.
That's right.
Michael Gray.
Because I don't know why they did not ask him to be in the first film. Marvel's good at that. They'll put Lou Ferrigno in a cameo in a Hulk movie. They'll put Stan Lee in every one of them. When he was alive, he was in every one of the films. They'll always do that little tip of the hat to the old show or something like that, which I think is great. And I think DC missed out on the first Shazam movie. But hey, clearer heads prevailed, and somebody thought of it for the second one, and somebody put him in the new one, and it's pretty cool. I'm not going to – you can see the movie. I don't want to spoil his cameo, but he does have a great cameo in the film. It's not just a throwaway when he's there, and he does actually say something that's a little he says the title of a character that's a little controversial. So wait till you see it. And I don't mean it's horribly controversial, but you'll know what I mean when you see it. So Michael Gray does have a cameo in the new Shazam Fury of the Gods movie, so check it out. I did want to hit on this too, since we got time for the bottom of the hour. The Star Wars celebration, I think it's wrapping up, or I don't know how many days for the weekend it goes. I don't know if it's like Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or just Saturday and Sunday or whatever. But I got this story from Variety.com. I'm going to squeeze this in before we go to a break. Daisy Ridley is to reprise her role as Rey in a new Star Wars film. It's a Star Wars movie-featured story just came out. Where are my glasses? I misplaced them again. It's about to come into sharper focus in more ways than one as I put my glasses on. Daisy Ridley's Rey will be the center of the first Star Wars feature film since 2019. So that's right. There's been no feature film since the last movie, The Rise of Skywalker, which for me, sorry people, it was a bit of a letdown when I saw it in the theater, but that's just my opinion. I welcome anybody else's. I'm being nice, yeah. With you, compared to you, I am.
Oh.
Lucasfilm President Kathleen Kennedy announced, that's right, I said the name, Kathleen Kennedy. I know that sends shivers up some people's spines, but get over it, people. She's got a job to do. She announced at Star Wars Celebration in London on Friday, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy will direct from a script by Stephen Knight, who writes, I guess this is a television series called Peaky Blinders, right?
Right.
That's his credit. And the film follows the events of The Rise of Skywalker, which will focus on Rey as she builds a new Jedi Order. Getting to this point has been a bumpier than successfully navigating an asteroid field, it says, for Lucasfilm. Knight stepped in to write the film after the original screenwriters left the project in February. That's not a good sign. The latest example of high-profile creative departing a Star Wars feature project months or even years after their involvement was first reported. Yeah, they started this a long time ago, and I guess it fell apart. In December of 2020, Kennedy announced that Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins would helm the first post-Rise of Skywalker feature titled Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I got kind of excited about that one. It sounded interesting. It was scheduled to open on December 2023, but after years of zero progress on that project, Disney pulled the film from its schedule in September. Now, in March, Variety reported that it was no longer in an active development at Lucasfilm. A similar fate befell an untitled Star Wars movie to be produced by Kevin Feige, chief of Lucasfilm's corporate sibling Marvel Studios, believe it or not. He was involved in something. News broke of Kevin Feige's involvement in September of 2019, and the project appeared to be active as recently as May of last year, but sources told Variety that Lucasfilm has since shelved that project and is no longer active. development. A lot of stuff going on behind the scenes here, new things and old things being canceled. Now, along with this film we talked about with Ray, Kennedy also announced that James Mangold, the director who made Logan and Copland and the upcoming Indiana Jones sequel, says, and Dave Filoni of the Mandalorian series will be working and direct an upcoming Star Wars movie. James Mangold is going to direct one. Taika Waititi, Thor Ragnarok and other films, is also developing a Star Wars feature still, so his is still on, in which he would direct and star. He would star in it too, it says. And Sean Levy is still attached to direct a Star Wars movie following his work on Marvel's Deadpool 3 and the Netflix limited series All the Light We Cannot See. I'm not familiar with that show, but that's the other thing he's involved in. So I didn't know the guy with Deadpool 3 is attached to a Star Wars thing. So it sounds like they've got some talent, and they've got some things ready to go. I just saw a trailer for Ahsoka, the Jedi character. She's got a television series, a streaming series coming out. I saw a logo for a show called Acolyte, Star Wars The Acolyte or Acolytes or something like that. No idea what that's about. So that's coming up. And then they just broke I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, the second most up-to-date trailer for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was released, where it shows a little bit more in the film. It starts out actually with a 60s pop song playing at the beginning, because I think this movie's set right in the early 60s or something like that. That's when the movie's actually set. You see a couple more shots of Indy in this trailer, de-aged. I don't know why that is, whether it's a time travel story or whatever. It sounds like it might be. So we got that coming up. So a lot of movement on Star Wars and Lucasfilm, with a lot of shows and a lot of things being planned. Did you see the other thing that came out, Alan? They said this is official from them. They're like, this is the last Indiana Jones production. After this, we're done. So I guess all those pretty solid rumors we heard about the streaming series, what was that all about? And does it mean it's the last one with Harrison Ford? What do we mean by that? I don't know what that means.
Maybe they had a PSYOP campaign telling us it was a show, so we didn't think he dies because they were sick and tired of people saying that he's going to die in the movie. So we're going to have an entire we'll pretend that there's a television show coming, so he can't die.
We changed our minds.
I told you from the minute I heard the title, Dial of Destiny, you're going to have an old Indiana Jones in the present fighting an old Indiana Jones from the past, and they're going to come together and realize they both have to die.
You know what? I so hope you're wrong on that, and you hope you're wrong. You've never thought hope you were wrong so much in your life about something.
The minute I realized,
I'm not saying you are wrong. I'm just saying I hope you're wrong.
With that title, I was like, we're with Harry Potter, the Time Turner. We're going to have a time travel.
And with Star Trek 4, we've time traveled in everything before. Time travel's
I do hope I'm wrong.
Well, The Mandalorian is faltering as well. We're not really enjoying The Mandalorian very much. And it was a great show, the first 2 seasons, but I am completely at a loss as to what they're trying to do with this 3rd season. It started out a couple episodes, I'm like, okay, see where we're going with the Mandalorian Home Planet. I have no idea what they're doing now after the latest episode. It's BK on there. We're going to have more talk and other things to talk about, as always, when we come back. Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here. I want to say thanks to Michael Gray. Always to thanks for coming on the program and talking about Shazam and his career. It's always nice to be pals and friends with a guy that you grew up watching on television, and I love every minute of it. If you were to tell me as a kid back in the 70s when I was watching Michael on Shazam and appearing on all those special programs he was on, like the Brady Bunch, somebody would have come up and said, hey, when you get older, you're going to be on the radio, and you're going to have his number in your speed dial. I'm like, number one, speed dial? What is that?
Wait a second.
I don't know what that means.
Called it speed dial.
I don't know what that is. So, yeah, because it's a time traveler. It's my future self going back in time to talk to me. You're gonna be friends with him and know him and blah, 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 blah. And Richard Hatch from Battlestar Galactica, you're going to become friends with him, too. I would have laughed. My butt off, which would have been a lot, because I got a lot of butt to laugh off. There was really a lot there at one point. So 770-386-1450 is our number. I'll take a chance in giving out the phone number here. Michael's line sounded pretty clear, so hopefully our phones are working. I know that it's Easter weekend. I haven't forgotten about that. It is Easter weekend. So being that it's Easter...
You're looking at a very unusual kind of egg from Cadbury that's only around till Easter. Its shell is pure, rich Cadbury milk chocolate. But look, inside sits a sweet, creamy yellow yolk surrounded by delicious white filling. Cream eggs from Cadbury. Why, they're the best thing to come along since the Easter Bunny. And when he's gone, they're gone.
So, yeah, Happy Easter. I know what the Easter season's about. I know about it. But as a kid, we did that and went to church. But we also did the egg thing and the egg hunts and stuff. And I did look forward every year to sitting down at the kitchen table with Mom at the time and taking the colored stuff, and you mix the colors and stuff. You have all the white eggs, the boiled eggs, by the way, and having the little. I remember vividly the little copper hoop that you would sit the egg in to hold it, to dip it down into the paint,
the
little ink, and then pull it back up, and then you did the swirls, and you could do the other things, and later on kids would do decals and put stickers on the eggs and stuff like that, and go egg hunting. And in the day, we did not hunt. In the 70s, we did not hunt plastic eggs. When we were kids, we hunted real eggs that if you didn't wait too long, a little later, you could peel the shell off and eat them if you wanted to, because they were boiled eggs, full of salt and pepper on them, and you could munch them down. But I know today's the day in today's world they hunt the plastic eggs because it's I guess it's just a different world. They also I think they put prizes in the little eggs now. You got maybe a couple of dollar bills in it or something, or candy or something like that.
That's a lot. Usually in the egg hunts they do that now.
Now that I think about it, that might have been more cool. As a kid, I'd much rather break open an egg and not find egg and find money in it instead. That would have been really nice. I do remember the one I should have queued it up, but there's one Warner Brothers cartoon. Did you ever see the one where I think Bugs is filling in for the Easter Bunny, and he's going to all these houses, and he's like, the Easter Bunny's coming, hooray, hooray, and he's got all these baskets, and he walks to this one house, and he opens up the door, I think this is what happens, and a kid immediately zooms right out on top of his head and is hitting him. And he's like, I want an Easter egg, I want an Easter egg, I want an Easter egg, I want an Easter egg. He's beating the crap out of Bugs. He's like, stop it, Doc. It was like one of the funniest ones, and if I remember that. I think I'm paraphrasing. Oh, pardon me, I'm paraphrasing a Warner Brothers cartoon. I may have not got it exactly the way it is, but that was the gist of the cartoon, and I do remember that.
You do have a listener out there who will call you if you're not 100%
or send me a
perfect.
message and say, hey, you didn't actually say that. No, I didn't mind Eric calling and saying he did add the 704 Hauser Street to the Archie Bunker shows, All in the Family, and that was good. And we kind of had James Install call and correct us about the other Star Trek show. So I don't mind being corrected if I'm legitimately wrong about something huge and like, oh, I did forget about that. You're right. But you mean I didn't say one little syllable right on something and you're correcting me? Please, come on. Just cut me a break. I mean, everybody makes a screw up every now and then. Me more than ever now that I'm getting seasoned in my years of seasoned citizen as I am. So I got another story here. It ties into entertainment, and I saw it yesterday. And it's about a guy that we really like. Talk about celebritydom and Hollywood. Clint Eastwood. Alan, you'd call yourself a Clint Eastwood fan, both as an actor and director, right?
Absolutely.
A lot of great movies that he's done as an actor and director. Clint Eastwood. This comes from Yahoo News. He's officially retiring. Well, we kind of knew that. I kind of thought he had already, but I did not know this part. The legendary actor-director has set the final film of his career at Warner Brothers. What? He's doing another film? After over it's hard to even say this, 6 decades in the industry, 60 years. Eastwood has nearly 50 films to his name over the span of his legendary career, it says. DiscussingFilm.com reports that since Gran Torino in 2008, which, by the way, I love that movie. It's a great movie, by the way.
Fantastic.
Spectacular, intense, and sad, but expected ending to it, too. What an ending that movie had.
It's actually very rewatchable because I've seen it multiple times and I really like it.
The ending of that film, I now that I think about it and have seen it several times, I'm thinking, how differently could it have ended? That's the way it had to end with the buildup. Eastwood has strictly stayed at Warner Brothers. That's his preferred studio, delivering 10 more films for that studio. Some include the Oscar-nominated pictures like Invictus, which I didn't see. I didn't see that. American Sniper, which I saw in the theater and was phenomenal, by the way, about the sniper, Chris Kyle. Sully, the movie that Tom Hanks starred as the pilot that ditched in New York, right in the Bay. Which is another great movie. I was wondering how Sully was going to be entertaining leading up to that and what happened. I'm like, how can you get a hour and 45-minute movie out of this? And it was done in a way where I was not bored. It was well done, and I liked it. And Hank's performance, of course, was great. And the movie Richard Jewell about the guy who was framed for the falsely accused of doing the bombing at the Centennial Olympic Park in Atlanta. Now, we remember that well because we were here locally, and it was all over our news. Most recently, he released Cry Macho on HBO Max and in theaters with Warner Brothers in 2021. I didn't see that either. Was it good?
It wasn't bad. It wasn't great, but it's like anything with Eastwood, you're going to be satisfied.
Now, what this doesn't, and I'll go off on a tangent here before I go on with the story, before I forget. A lot of his other films that he directed. I think one of Clint Eastwood's most underrated films that kind of falls under people's radar and they forget about, and I think it was 1982, was Firefox, the movie about the Soviet jet that he stole, which was from a novel. Mm-hmm. I thought Firefox was a fabulous movie. I watched it again a couple of years ago, and I thought it's still a wonderful political thriller that would fit right into the Tom Clancy world. It was great.
A realistic portrayal of what was going on during the Cold War.
It was.
Many people were willing to risk their lives to protect freedom.
Even people in Russia helping him, risking their lives.
And it's really, really good.
Now, you watch it now, and you're like, oh, okay, well, apogee and the blue screen effects of the jet are kind of dated. But I don't care because I can suspend that and watch the movie, and I enjoyed it when it came out because that was the effects back when it came out. And I think I also here now, being a connoisseur and knowing every special effects sound from sci-fi, I'm like, oh, wow, I watch Firefox now, and every time it passes by the screen, they use a sound effect from the Vipers from Battlestar Galactica from 1978 because they just happen to have a sound of a vessel going by the camera, and that's what they used. That was the only distracting thing about it. The Outlaw Josie Wales, probably that's my favorite Western that he did and he directed, and I thought it was a phenomenal movie. I'm talking about movies he directed and starred in. Now, The Man with No Name, Good, Bad, and the Ugly, there's another director on those, but he starred in those, but I'm talking about ones that he directed. I have not see, I keep forgetting, Mel Gibson directed Hacksaw Ridge, right? Or was that Clint? Okay, because I forgot about that. I thought he directed it. But I still haven't seen that yet, and I heard you talking about it this week, and I need to see that. I have not seen that. But Clint Eastwood, another one that I thought was funny, but just over the top, and now it's kind of hilarious to try to watch it, it was Heartbreak Ridge. It's almost a comedy, and it kind of is. The first half of it is, and it's a little over the top.
I enjoy that movie though because it's Clint. It's Clint doing Clint.
And I like seeing the young Marine upstarts get their comeuppance from him in the film. That's the fun part.
You know
of
what's
watching
funny?
it.
Watch the story construction and film technique of Kubrick's
Full Metal Jacket,
versus Heartbreak Ridge. They follow almost the exact same kind of pattern.
They kind of do,
but one's high drama.
Right.
And one's kind of like, well, we're going to make it into a rah-rah.
Yeah, shish boom bah.
Yeah.
Well, reports have also indicated that Eastwood's final film will be titled Juror Number 2. Though nothing has been confirmed yet, the film is said to be a thriller focusing on a juror in a murder trial who realizes that he may have been the cause of the victim's death while he's on the jury. That's an interesting story. I don't think anybody's ever done anything like that before. That's interesting. There's no currently start date for the upcoming film, but it would mark Clint Eastwood's 40th directed feature film. 40 of them. That's a career. That's a career. Clint Eastwood. We're both fans of Clint Eastwood. Dirty Harry, man. I love Dirty Harry.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Well, to tell you the truth, in all this excitement, I've kind of lost track myself. But Ian, this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and would blow your head clean off. You've got to ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
We'll return after these messages.
In the news, a big summit meeting. They were supposed to be discussing economic problems, but President Reagan and 6 other world leaders also used this week's meeting to get to know each other. We'll be back with a summit in Canada in the news.
Oh, elders, fleet and strong and wise, appear before my seeking eyes.
Billy, someday your own image, your own identity must be revealed to save a human life.
Oh, I'm not sure I understand, Solomon.
You may meet someone less fortunate than you, someone who feels he cannot cope with society.
But you can be the one to show him how wrong he is, how worthwhile he can really be.
I can? How?
Perhaps by remembering what the poet Wordsworth once said, that best portion of a good man's life is his little, nameless, unremembered acts of kindness and of love.
Elders, you talk of love and courage, but I'm not sure what it all means.
It is not our intention that you understand everything clearly now, Billy, only that you will use this knowledge when you need it.
But Solomon,
Good luck, Billy.
Hey, that's right. It's me. It's BK on the air here. Last segment of the show, creeping up to the top of the hour. Always having a good time coming in here, flipping that switch on and talking about whatever I want to talk to or talk about for over almost 2 hours every Saturday. I got that freedom to come in here because I lock the door. No one can get rid of me even if they wanted to. What is your, Alan, we're all fans of Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, whatever that has to do with dinosaurs and stuff. And I haven't seen that new movie. 65 with, is it Adam Driver?
Adam Driver, yeah. It went to bed pretty quickly.
Yeah, that doesn't mean it was bad, though. I think I do want to see it, just again, form my own opinion, because some movies don't do well, and I see them, and I don't know why. We could do a whole show about movies we love that we have no idea why no one else did. We could do a lot of those movies.
We could put a filter that says, was it the trailer that killed the movie?
Sometimes the trailers don't help films or whatever.
A lot of times that I see a movie that I'm like, wow, this was great, but it's nothing like the trailer. I didn't go see it because the trailer convinced me.
You see
or
movie,
vice versa.
Yeah, or vice versa. Like, this looks awesome. And you go see it and like, every cool thing was in the trailer.
Oh, yeah,
and the rest of it
I've already
is horrible.
seen the whole movie. Thank you.
Everyone has their favorite dinosaur. I was fascinated by dinosaurs as a kid. Usually people are as kids and stuff. And it's just a fascinating thing to get into and talk about because they were these creatures that roamed around millions of years ago, and they were huge and big and monstrous. Some of them were smaller. Some of them were big but didn't hurt you and eat plants or whatever. So there's different kinds of dinosaurs, and everybody kind of had, at least my friends and I growing up, had our favorite dinosaur that we liked the most. If you had to pick your favorite out of all the species of dinosaurs that you know about, maybe hearkening back to when you were a kid, that's carried over into your adulthood, which one would you choose?
Easy. Triceratops.
You like the Triceratops, kind of like Sam Neill in Jurassic Park. That was
Love
his
the
favorite
Triceratops.
Too. They were interesting. My favorite is one. I like the opposite of the Triceratops. There's one that's still a plant-eating dinosaur that's my favorite, whereas the Triceratops attacks from the front because he's got his weapons up front. My dinosaur that was my favorite growing up has its defense mechanisms on its back and in its tail. I loved the Stegosaurus. That was my favorite. It was the one that was kind of like shaped like a humpback cow with a small head, but it had the plate sticking out of the back of its back, and then the tail goes back with the giant spike sticking out of it that it would swing around and smack things with. That seemed to be my favorite. A lot of people love the T-Rex. They love the big Allosaurus, the giant one with the long neck and stuff that you see. And a lot of people after the movie came out, they're like, "Oh, the raptors, man, they're my favorite ones." There's no wrong answer. Whatever happens to be your favorite dinosaur.
And we've lived long enough to watch the Brontosaurus be named the Brachiosaurus. And now they're back to Brontosaurus.
Yeah, and they went back. I saw that just a couple of months ago. I'm like, they've gone back to that. So it's funny. It's funny how and the other thing about it I read about Jurassic Park is when it came out, Steven Spielberg made the raptors, 8, 9, 10 feet high. When they'd stand up, they were pretty high, the Velociraptor. Well, at the time, they'd only found a Velociraptor skeleton at the time. They had only found one that was like maybe 4 feet high that had just, was in the fossils or something. And they're like, well, the only thing that Spielberg got wrong was he made the Velociraptors too big. I'm like, well, to make them 4 feet high in the film would not have been very menacing. So that's why he took some creative license.
I don't know.
Since then, they have found raptor skeleton fossils that are huge. So I'm like, so he was retroactively correct. Yeah.
Well,
so that was great.
The little flag, not the spitter that had
the one with the fins that would pop out.
The little cowl.
Yeah, the lizard type.
He was only about 4 feet tall.
Yeah, he wasn't
Dilophosaurus.
I still wouldn't want to mess with him.
And he took care of our friend from Cartersville.
He took care of Wayne Knight's little red Jeep, didn't he?
He did. Hey, fella, get this thing, get this. No wonder why you died out. You're too stupid.
I'm going to run you over when I come back now. Look. We have Dotson here. Dotson. See, nobody cares.
What a great character actor.
He was,
that was
and you
fantastic
didn't like him.
in that.
Well, I bring up dinosaurs for a reason. Believe it or not. I'll bring them up for a reason. This comes from Julia Musto from Fox News and other places. This is a press release all over the place. The T-Rex, which is another great dinosaur we remember about. And they've since changed their mind about T-Rex. It was they're thinking maybe it was less of a hunter and more of a vulture. It would wind up eating things it found dead for the most part because it had small arms, and it wasn't. But who knows for real what they did? I just think that for a group of people making a film that had no idea what sounds dinosaurs made, the ones they came up with for me were totally, because we don't know what they sounded like. It just sounded like those sounds were right and they belonged. They didn't come up with any goofy sounding sound that sounded bad. T-Rex roaring, it could have sounded like
totally
that. The way the raptors would talk to each other with that noise that they would make, I buy it. I think that's what they could have done. This is a completely different story, but it's about a T-Rex. The better the kiss you with, maybe? The Tyrannosaurus Rex may have had scaly lips on its mouth. They're saying they think the T-Rex had lips now after some things that they've discovered the past month. Researchers says depictions of the predator with giant flashing teeth fully visible might be incorrect with the T-Rex. In a study published a couple of Thursdays ago in the journal Science, paleontologists compared skulls and living reptiles. Their findings distorted the image of the classic Jurassic Park series, finding that the teeth on the T-Rex and other big theropods they're called, were likely covered by the lips. The teeth did not stick out when its mouth was closed, with just lips visible even in the wide-open bite. Some larger monitor lizards actually have bigger teeth than the T-Rex compared to their skull size and can still fit them in under a set of scaly lips, according to the study author Thomas Cullen, a paleontologist and assistant professor at Auburn University, just one state over from us at the great Auburn University in Alabama. Examining wear and tear on teeth also pointed to those conclusions, it says. The research is the latest in a long back and forth over how dinosaur mouths really looked and is not the first time depictions of the T-Rex and dinosaurs have been called into question, kind of like the raptors we talked about earlier with Jurassic Park, but the raptors wound up being taller after all, so Spielberg was right. Most of what we know about dinosaurs comes from their bones, as we know, but it can be harder to get clear answers about soft tissues like skin, which are not usually preserved as fossils. They do have to do a lot of speculation when it comes to that. The report noted that the dinosaur lips would be very different from our lips, I hope so, in that although they would cover the teeth, they would not really be moved independently and couldn't be curled back to snarl or make other sorts of movements, or like, maybe smile. They're about to eat, and they're like, I'm smiling, I'm about to eat this food. That's going to be great. Or to, wink and smile at female T-Rexes. Who knows what they could do with their lips. And says we associate lips with humans or other mammals, but not necessarily dinosaurs or reptilian-type creatures. So there you go. They found out that maybe the T-Rex had lips. Well, it's a tailor-made story for this show.
It almost sounds like what they're describing with dogs. Like dogs don't pull their lips into smiles, but they do cover their teeth.
But they do have lips in a sense. Yes.
But dogs can, when they do snarl, they can pull their the tissue up to reveal their fangs.
Right, and that's usually a warning. I've seen female dogs do it to their puppies, saying, "Okay, I'm weaning you. Get away from me," and they'll growl at their puppies. Way of correcting them.
No milk for you.
And by the way. Where's I going with that? Dogs. Teeth. Oh, there's a guy on. There's folks. I know where I was going with that. There's a guy has an Instagram account about a Rottweiler that he has, and sometimes dogs are wired weird and
really?
And oddly. This dog, when it's happy, you think that it's going to kill you because its way of saying it's happy is it growls. It's a little mixed up in how it's supposed to react. So when they're doing stuff like scratching his ears or petting his face, he's really sitting there and going, I mean, he looks like he's about to attack. And you've seen a Rottweiler do that. They can look pretty scary. But they're like, don't worry. It's just, because when they stop petting him, he stops and he looks at him and he nudges his head like, pet me more.
Like, keep going.
Because that's the way he reacts. He's wired backwards.
Yeah. Now, it's less dangerous, but our little Chihuahua miniature pincher hybrid.
Yeah, hybrid.
Same way. She's got that little Chihuahua thing. She's like going, and you're like playing, you're putting your hand in her mouth, and you think she's the most vicious, and then you stop, and she's like, oh. Like, come on, more.
I'm playing with you. Come on. Yeah. Now, no playing. In my house we call that playing rar, which I'm playing rough to make my dog growl. I know what that means. But this dog, its pleasure response is growling.
I love it. I love doing that. I love when my dogs are so comfortable and they're like, okay, I'm going to just roll over my belly. I'm going to expose all of the soft tissue. Please,
because I trust you.
I love you.
That's the best.
Love
feeling
me back.
in the world.
And I'm like, oh, here you go.
And you won't believe how much response I get from dog lovers when we do talk about dogs. Even the friends that I have, my retro friends, are like, "You're talking about dogs again today," and I agree with you 100%. And it's so great because dogs are what my grandmother said, and I'll never forget it. And I don't know if there's something to this or not, But my grandmother told me, did you know? Come here, young Barry, let me talk to you. Did you know that dog is God spelled backwards? I'm like, I never thought about that, Grandma, but you're right. Maybe there's something to that because they're just such
well,
awesome
if you want to
creatures.
think about something that could be created, that it knows that's just love personified,
yep,
it's a dog. It's
Yep.
a dog. If
And
you
you know-
don't,
and you know what
if
I
you don't
completely-
abuse a dog, if a dog's not hurt,
Yep.
if the dog's not been mentally and physically
Right.
abused, you could walk out of your house for 5 minutes and walk back
Oh,
in,
yeah.
and they would act like you've been gone for months. Like
kind of have no idea of time passage. They really don't sometimes.
They
You know, since we
are
had
awesome.
Michael Gray on the program, and I'm not complaining at all. Believe me, I blew right by the on this day in history. But today is National Zoo Lovers Day. Today, by the way, and today we're talking about dogs, and I didn't even think about it. Today is National Dog Fighting Awareness Day. Today,
Gotta
if
put an
you've
end
got
to
any
that.
idea of that going on, nip it in the bud with somebody and tell
Call the
somebody.
police.
Because
This
that's
is-
the most heinous, one of the most heinous things
It's horrible.
I've ever heard about.
It's
That's
horrible.
terrible.
And the kind of conditions those dogs, that's not what a dog is meant for. And if you're that kind of person, you
Oh, I
don't
know.
belong. You do not belong in modern society.
It's terrible. Do you know it's Steve Howe's birthday today? 76-year-old. He was the main rock guitarist for Yes and Asia. What a guitarist that guy is. He's still around. He still plays that guitar. There's just listen to Roundabout by Yes and listen to Heat of the Moment by Asia, and you'll see what a great guitarist that guy is.
There is
There's two
no
great
bad
guitar,
Asia music.
Guitar
Every bit of it.
solos in that. Two
I
great
own
groups.
all of them on my phone. I've bought very few albums for my iPhone, but I have that so I can listen to them all the time.
And I have most of the Yes albums, too. It's BK on the Air. Thanks for being here. Had a great time.
Happy Easter.
A happy Easter weekend. We'll see you next week.